I was a neo-Nazi skinhead from 1987 to 1994, and one of the things that helped change my life was the sitcom Seinfeld. When the show was at its peak, my girlfriend, who had been a neo-Nazi longer than me actually, but was kind of getting burnt out on it and really just wanted to live a normal life, was a huge fan of the show. And she worked on the Thursday nights when it was on, so I had to tape it for her on VHS. And on the spine of the tape, rather than writing Seinfeld, we wrote Amber's second birthday party. Because if my white power buddies came over and saw a videotape on the bookshelf with Seinfeld on it, it would make me a race traitor. I would be complicit in the destruction of the white race for watching Seinfeld. So I had to slink around and watch it in private and actually feel ashamed because I was felt like I was betraying my people. But I love the show so much, and it brought me so much joy that I did it anyway. And Seinfeld being observational humor, a week after I'd see the show, just going about my day, whether I encounter a low talker or a high talker or a close talker, or I'm eating an eclair out of the garbage or something, I'd think of the show and I'd chuckle and I would experience joy. And then a voice inside would ask, does Jerry Seinfeld get to live in your whiter and brighter world? If he does, you think he'd be very funny if you were killing all the other Jews? And the only answer to those questions is I was full of shit. And my entire ideology was full of shit. And the brilliance of the show drove that home every time I watched it. And thinking of the show in my day to day life at every turn, as Seinfeld kind of behooves you to do, reminded me over and over again how wrong I was. And it contributed to the exhaustion that built up until finally in 1994, I was so exhausted, I was looking for an excuse to leave. That came in the form of becoming a single parent. My girlfriend and I broke up. Go figure, but hate and violence and alcohol is not a recipe for a healthy relationship between a man and a woman. And I found myself a single parent to our 18-month-old daughter. And a couple months after that, a second friend of mine had been murdered in a street fight. And by that time, I lost count of how many friends had been incarcerated or sent to prison. So it finally hit me that if I didn't change my ways, death or prison was going to take me from my daughter. But if I hadn't been exhausted and looking for a way out at that point, I could have been driven further into hate by that murder. I could have been driven further into the neo Nazi movement by breaking up with my girlfriend. So Seinfeld was a huge part of my turnaround, and I'm grateful for it every single day. And I got it on DVR at home, and I watch it daily. I've seen every episode hundreds of times. I know it word for word. I literally laugh out loud every time I watch it still, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm very grateful.